Now recording. I think that we need to go back and revisit what we talked about in chapter 11 last week. Is that a safe assumption that we've forgotten everything? It'll
Sure.
come back to us as we review.
So much information there.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Morning, Zach. All right, chapter 11. This is the part that talked about two-part counterpoint. And we talked about species. No, not the movie. Did you guys see that movie? I can't remember. All right. So we talked about one-to-one counterpoint. And that's when you have two voices moving at the same speed, right? 2-to-1 counterpoint is second species. And that's when two are moving against one. Third species, 4 against 1. And fifth species, or fourth species adds syncopations and suspensions. And then fifth species is a combo of a bunch of them. Are we all right with that? Moving on. Let me pull my book up and share that screen with you. We started reading about composing an unembellished bass line. So they're going to restrict us again, and here's what we're going over, right? So the length is going to be short, 4 to 6 measures. Or you can combine two such roughly equal length phrases to form a period. So short length. Number 2, harmonic rhythm. The chords in the bass line will generally move in half notes in 4/4 time. This is just a start. Begin on either beat 1 or 3, but use the same initial beat placement for each phrase or period. And always begin the final pitch on beat 1 with a whole note. Are we all right with that? Stick with one major or minor key. If we're in minor, use melodic when appropriate. Number 4, begin and end on tonic or dominant harmonies. If a phrase begins with a dominant harmony, make it an upbeat beginning on beat 3. Tons of little technicalities like this all throughout, right? All right, and then it gives steps to compose an effective bass line. Do you remember these? Step 1, notate in root position. So they write everything out in root position, and then they go back and they change everything that can't stay in root position. Right? You remember this? Range. Stay within the approximate range of E2 to C4. C4 is middle C, yes? All right. Example 11-1 illustrates a root position bass line and its associated progression. Notice the progression has been constructed using the principles given in chapter 7. So here we go. They wrote everything out. What do you know has to change? Do you remember that all diminished chords have to be in first inversion?
Yeah. I was just gonna say leading tone.
So that's got to change. That's got to change. Does anything else have to change that you can remember?
Well, when we change those notes, we might have to change others to improve the contour.
Improve the contour, including focal point, right? So now we have to deal with focal point in the bass as well, right?
Right now, there's only one, but that could change. So,
All right. First and last chords need to be in root position. 5 going to 1, and a cadence needs to be in root position. 5 to 6, at least the 6 should be in root position. So those are the ones that have to stay in root position. All right, mandatory root position chords, they just circled them, right? Step 3, determining the chords that must be used in first inversion. Diminished chords, just talked about that. Either 5 or 1, but not both in an internal 5 to 1 chord progression. Internal is the key word there, right? This is not saying at the end. This is not saying that when we are cadencing. This is saying when we have an internal progression where 5 to 1 is not the goal. Just a passing 5 to 1 in the middle of a phrase. One of them, not both, needs to be in an inversion. Questions on that? Hearing none, seeing none. Is this all coming back? It's like riding a bike. Who's the most excited to be here today? I think it's Trevor. I definitely think it's Trevor. All right. Step 4, improving the bass contour. Here are a few additional suggestions concerning the overall flow and contour of the bass line. Repeated bass notes avoid over the bar line. It messes up your harmonic rhythm. If you do have that, you can change it by putting one of them in an inversion. And we know later on that we're going to typically avoid second inversion, so it's going to be first inversion, right? Stay tuned, it's coming. Number 2, have a focal point, either the single highest or single lowest. So we have that or option that we did not have with our melody, right? Melody, it had to be single high. Bass can be single high or low. That's new. And we want to avoid large leaps by converting them into smaller leaps using an inversion. So here we have G2 and E flat 3. Huge leap. Or we had a huge leap. What am I missing? It was a 6th. The 6th between G2 and E flat 3 in example 11-4 becomes a 4th in example 11-5. We had this huge leap of a 6th. Everyone see it? We have a leap of a 6th. We're going to turn that into a first inversion chord. So it becomes a leap of a 4th. Much more better. All right. Tonal variety. Notice that inverting the 1 chord also helps the bass line in another way, where we once had 3 Gs out of 7 pitches. We now only have 2, and we've added a new pitch class, which just means pitch of B flat to the line. This is called tonal variety, and it is preferred over tonal redundancy, the overuse of a single pitch. So another reason that we may want to put a chord in inversion is to spice it up. Questions, comments, concerns, friends with questions. We're doing all right? All right. Change of direction. If a large leap occurs in the line, change the direction of the line after the leap, and if possible, before the leap as well. They don't really give us an example of that. And I guess that's okay. Dissonant intervals. Avoid the use of augmented intervals, sevenths, and any intervals larger than an octave. The only diminished intervals used are the diminished fourth when you go scale degree 3, 7, 1 in minor, and the diminished fifth when you go scale degree 4, 7, 1 in major or minor. Both such intervals are illustrated in example 11-6. In either case, the line changes direction after and usually before the leap. So we are in C minor. And we go me, ti, do, which is scale degree 3, 7, 1 in minor, giving us an augmented fourth, which is only allowed here. Or also in C minor. Fa, ti, do. So those are the only dissonant intervals allowed. Are we all right with that? Are you feeling good about things? Cool. All right, melodic minor. Why would they tell us to use melodic minor? What's one good thing that melodic minor does?
More variety.
Yeah, good, Pete. Yeah, we've been pitching, varieties, the spice of life. And melodic minor offers that, giving us 2 more pitches, right, than we normally would get. So that's cool. All right. So they tell us this may occasionally change the quality of the triad, as shown in example 11-7. For example, the progression 4 to 5 to 1, if you invert the first 2 chords, you should change 4/6 to major 4/6 to avoid an augmented second in the bass line. So that's another reason to use melodic minor, to avoid these augmented intervals that we are trying to avoid. Likewise, the progression 1 to 5 to 4, minor 4 to, let me repeat that. Likewise, in the progression minor 1 to major 5 to minor 4 to major 5, if you invert the middle 2 chords, you should change major 5/6 to minor 5/6. Review the minor scale on page 55. Do we dare? Do we dare hit that button? Oh, we hit the button. Page 55. The link doesn't even go to the right page. Fail. We should not have clicked on that. Should we have? Are we still on page 54? Here's 55. Well, I hope McGraw-Hill's watching and seeing that their link is no good. Okay, here's example 4-2, which shows us all the possibilities tone-wise in the E minor scale. Harmonic, natural, and melodic. So using melodic minor, we get 9 pitches possible. Are we cool with that? How do composers decide which version of scale degree 6 and 7 to use? Melodically, the most graceful thing for raised scale degree 6 and raised scale degree 7 is ascend by step, whereas lowered scale degrees 6 and 7 tend naturally to descend by step. These tendencies conform to the melodic minor scale. All right, well, that was fun. Now we get to go back and find wherever we were. We're back. All right, so they give us this bass line. What do you notice about it? Comment on it. Let's mark it up. Well, Dr. B, I noticed that we started in a root position tonic triad. Very good, Jimmy. What else? We also ended on a root position triad. Very good. Anyone else? Well, I noticed that our diminished triad was in first position, first inversion. Very good, Sally. Anyone else?
I'll talk. There's 5-1 progressions throughout, but they're all have appropriate inversions.
Yeah, at least one of them is in an inversion when it was not our harmonic goal. Good. There's one more thing I see. 2 more things I see. Come on, one of them's an underhand gimme. Well, I don't want to look like a smarty pants, but it looks like we have one focal point. Very good.
Bert.
And go ahead.
I was going to give you a name, Bert or something.
Bert. Yeah, very good, Bert. The other thing I want to point out is that we have a lowercase Roman numeral 5. Let me play it both ways so you can hear that. Versus completely different feel, huh? One's very Aladdin-y. And the other's not so poignant. We all right with that? Questions, comments, concerns, friends with questions, private messages in the chat. I love the chat feature. I wish I could take that back to face-to-face instruction. There used to be a piece of like an online chat room feature you could do. It's called Today's Meet. And anybody could anonymously post anything in the chat room. I anticipate seeing something like that in the future if it's not already here. All right, moving on. Where's Catherine? Should we offer Catherine extra credit points for watching this when she watches it? Do you think she'll watch it? Nobody tip her off. It's like an Easter egg, extra credit Easter eggs in my videos. It's a brilliant idea, isn't it?
If you did that for her, can you do that for me if I miss one?
We should do it for everybody. If you can tell me the exact time when extra credit was offered, you could earn 5 points extra credit. Make it a secret word. Oh, that's a good idea. Pee Wee Herman. The word of the day is cherry. Ah! Are you guys too young for Pee Wee Herman? Claire's got this look on her face like, what the heck are you talking about? Isn't he on Netflix? Pee Wee Herman used to have a secret word of the day in his show. And whenever anyone said the secret word of the day, everybody screamed, ah! So the secret word of the day is dissonance. Ah! Just warped things from my childhood, Claire. Just smile and wave. It's all right. Okay, number 8, 6/4 chords. We talked about this. I told you we were coming back to this. You may have noticed that all of the inverted triads we have used have been first inversion triads. When writing your own progressions, you may include cadential 6/4 chords before the cadential dominant. But for now, however, avoid using 6/4 chords. Are we all right with that? Moving on. Self-test 11-1. Compose bass lines for the following progressions. Did we do this yet? We did this. We should do the second one then. All right. Inverting harmonies and changing chord labels as necessary. Follow the suggested procedures and explain your decisions. There's more than one acceptable answer. So please review your solutions with your instructor, like he has a clue what is going on. Let's go. We did. Which one did we do? Do you remember? Did we do number 1 and E? Or did we do number 2 and F? Well, whatever. We're going to do number 2 and D. Ready, set, go. Here we go. I'm going to start on
Root.
root. What do you think of green? Is green okay? I'm going to go 5-1 at the end. Do you want to go above or below for our 5-1?
No one cares, it would seem.
No one cares. All right. Well, I'm going to set us up for success then and cheat in the back of the book and tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go from above. Five to one. All right. Right off the bat, what do you notice that we got to do?
We have to invert the diminished 2.
Excellent. So
And the diminished
and
7.
diminished 7.
Nice. So we're going to put this as a G. Is that right? And what's this going to become?
An E.
An E. All right. Can we do that? Let's just put in some pitches and then we can change it all. Is that all right? So I'm just marking my notes as I see them. All right. So we know we have some problems. Yeah. What are some problems we have?
I have a lot of A's.
A lot of A's, a lot of 1, 2, 3 A's,
A lot of D's.
a lot of D's. Oh, for the love. 1, 2, 3, 4 D's. All right. Didn't I read that we had to change 5 to 6? One of them had to be inverted. I swear I read that. Did I not read that? Because the book didn't change that 5 to 6. So I'm wondering what's up with that. Maybe this is the reason. It's not really a deceptive cadence. It's just, what do you think? Actually, you know what? We have exactly what the book wrote, except for one note different. That's funny. They sit there and they preach all this stuff and then they don't do it. They preach diversity. They don't give it to us. This is what the book has. Are you ready? This is a simple little fix right here. Start with the high D. You got your high focal point, and it's all downhill from there.
I thought they wanted us to stay below middle C. Or middle C or below.
Yeah, they broke all the rules. Here's the rules, kids. All right, we didn't do anything that we were supposed to. I hope McGraw-Hill is watching.
There's no inversions for the 5-1 in the middle either.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. They did make one other change. They changed this one. Ah,
That's right.
that's right.
That's right.
Do you have any idea what we're talking about?
No.
We don't either.
Is this the Brownie class?
This is the brownie class. I'll let them know that
I'll
I'll let them know my brownies won last night.
No, it was a tie.
It was a 4-2 win, and then there was a defector at the last second.
Yeah, 3-3.
Whatever.
It was a defector.
Maybe I'll post the recipes.
I did.
Well, not for my class. My class doesn't follow you.
Oh, well, man, I missed you.
Yeah, send those pictures over. We'll post them to Canvas.
I have conceded that it's okay if you guys like something else.
That's all that I was hoping for.
There you go. You
All
don't
right.
have dark chocolate.
We'll have a poll, and everybody that chooses my brownies gets extra credit.
What, they're going to make the recipe at home?
Yeah, they're going to make them at home.
Like, they're really going to make them.
They're going to have a brownie bake-off. They're going to try Doc B's versus Mrs. B's.
I could use extra credit.
Yeah. That's like the stupidest reason to give extra credit. I love it. All right. So I think that's what we have now. So we did put a 1-6 here. That got rid of one of our Ds. And we did start with a higher D, which is a little bit better than having the same pitch of a D. You know what I mean? We still have 3 A's, but what are you going to do?
And there's also 2 Ds at the end.
Yeah. Could we change one of them? Could we make that a 1-6? It's nice stepwise motion, right? Improving on the book's answer. McGraw-Hill should list us as an editor for the next edition, a contributor.
I should go back in a couple of years and look at all the comments.
But what? Oh, yeah, that worked, right? I don't know. What do you think about abandoning that? I mean, it's in the bass line, but our leading tone didn't go down. Is that bad? I imagine that might be why the book did what the book did. Talking right here. I think it's all right, huh? Clearing my screen. Exercise 11, C workbook. What does the workbook tell us? Anybody looked at the workbook examples yet? Oh, nice. It's an easy workbook. There's only 4 pages. Yes. We'll take that, right? All right. So 11-1 is just doing what we did. But they give us little helps along the way, which is awesome. So they want us to do this. They say, hey, you got to do this, this, and this. So they kind of hold our hand, which is great. Are we cool with that? Questions on workbook page 1. This is page 87 in your workbook. I think you'll be able to do that just fine. Probably while you're watching the Great British Baking Show or whatever it is that you watch.
We could do it while we wait for a Doc B brownies to finish.
That's right. During the half an hour that they're in the oven. All right. So that's page 87 and 88 right there. So we're writing 3 bass lines. Piece of cake. Or brownies. All right. 11-2. I don't think we've gotten to yet. So let's come back to that. Is that all right? So while this is a lot, I don't think it's going to be as bad as we thought. Yeah. There are a lot of little nitpicky details, but I think we're going to be all right. All right. Next section of the textbook. Composing a counterpoint to the bass line. So they set us up on how to do a bass line. Now they're going to set us up how to do a melody. And if you're following along at home, this is page 176. Once you have composed a simple bass line to a given progression, the next step is to compose a simple contrapuntal voice above it. The two lines will not be independent rhythmically at this stage because they're all going to be half notes in 4/4, right? But they will have their own contours. While the counterpoint is still rather elementary, we are learning principles that will serve as the foundation for more advanced compositional or analytical procedures. The guidelines in this unit, and there are quite a few of them, get ready, are not as arbitrary as they may seem. Some of them pertain only to tonal counterpoint, but others would hold true for counterpoint in any period of style of music. I think that's supposed to be an or, is it? Is that another error from McGraw-Hill? Am I wrong? All right. No one's talking today. It's cool. So here we go. When composing a contrapuntal voice above the bass line, we will need to consider 4 categories of guidelines. Features of the melodic line, beginnings and endings, harmonic intervals, and types of motion. Categories 1 and 2 will remain the same throughout our study of counterpoint. However, categories 3 and 4 will require some changes as we add rhythmic variety and other elements in chapter 12. Stay tuned. We will look at each category in turn. Number 1, features of the melodic line. Each suggestion in the following list is illustrated by a separate line in example 11-8. Showing examples of what should be avoided. All right, contour. The melody should be more conjunct than disjunct. What does that mean?
Stepwise motion.
Yeah, we don't want. Good. Number 2, variety is preferred over redundancy, so they say. Avoid reusing the same pitches again and again. 3, pitch repetition. Use no more than 2 consecutive occurrences of the same pitch. Also, don't repeat the same pitch over the bar line. We knew that. Number 4, directionality. Don't let the melody pull too much in one direction. 5, focal point. The shape of the melody should be interesting, but clear and simple with a single focal point. A single high point or low point in the line. That's new. I thought it was just single high point. Is this true? Now we can worry about a low point as well, in addition or instead of.
So we can't have 2 low notes. The lowest note in the phrase we can't have 2 of them.
I think we can, as long as we have a single high pitch or vice versa. Does that make sense? Move toward and away from it gradually. We'll keep an eye on that. Range. The range of the added voice should be no less than a 5th and no more than a 10th. So that's something that we can kind of watch for in addition to that focal point, yeah? Staying in between a 5th and a 10th. We at least need to have 5 of the interval of a 5th, but no more than a 10th. All right, leading tone resolution. The melody should not contain notes outside of the prevailing key, Resolve the leading tone, scale degree 7 up to 1. Hey, we were just talking about this. Except in the stepwise motion descent 1 to 7 to 6. Do to Ti to La. This principle does not apply to the subtonic, the lowered 7th scale degree in the minor mode. So that's talking about melodic, right? We can be a melodic minor and not have to follow those resolutions if we have a subtonic. Does everybody know that subtonic is the lowered leading tone? It's Te. Yeah. I'm glad I said that. Te, te, te. All right. Melodic minor. In minor mode examples, use the melodic minor scale. For example, use the leading tone when leading to the final scale degree 1 Do, or as part of Sol, La, Ti, Do motion, scale degree 5, 6, 7, 1. If scale degree 6 precedes scale degree 7, raise scale degree 6 as well. So we have La, Ti, Do. Use lowered scale degrees 6 and 7 in descending stepwise lines, such as Do, Te, Le, So, scale degree 1, 7, 6, 5. Use your judgment in ambiguous situations. That sounds like license that they're giving us right there. Make a choice. Number 9, melodic intervals. Avoid augmented or diminished intervals, sevenths, or leaps larger than an octave. The descending intervals of scale degree 3 to raised scale degree 7, a diminished fourth in minor. That would be Métis. Métis. It's Pirate Week. And scale degree 4 to raise scale degree 7, which would be Fati, a diminished fifth. Trying to avoid the poop jokes here. In either mode are acceptable. We talked about that before, didn't we? Métis. All right. Treatment of leaps. If an isolated large leap occurs in the line, for example, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, or an octave, proceed and follow it with motion in the opposite direction. We've heard these guidelines before, haven't we? There's one exception. Fourths can be preceded by motion in the same direction. Consecutive leaps in the same direction, number and resolution. Use no more than 2 consecutive leaps in the same direction. When using 2 consecutive leaps, you should proceed and follow the entire pair of leaps by motion in the opposite direction. Compare to the previous guideline. So we're just trying to put opposite direction leaps on both sides, right? Or not even necessarily leaps, but motion. Could be step. We're trying to zig and zag, right? Number 12, consecutive leaps in the same direction. Total span. 2 consecutive leaps in the same direction should together span a fifth or sixth or an octave. Proceed and follow the pair by motion in the opposite direction. Questions, comments, concerns, stuff you wanted me to repeat. It's a lot. Are we doing all right? I have a feeling we're going to revisit this page 176 and 177. And that's all right as we get it down. Should we look at a horrible example? Example 11-18, an overly disjunct line. Did you guys ever do dot to dots as a kid? So we're all over the place, right? leap of a fifth, leap of a fifth, leap of a sixth, leap of a fourth, leap of a fifth, step. Leaping lizards. All right. Here we have more conjunct motion, but it's kind of boring. And we repeat 3 Fs. Here we have 3 repeated notes in a row and across bar lines, which is a no-no. Bunch of bad examples. All right, here we only go, whoa. Here we only go up. We only go one direction. Boy band. All right. Here we have one focal point in both the top and the bottom pitch. Does everybody see that? We have 2 Gs. We have 2 Ds. There's no clear direction. In the next example, we don't go anywhere. Remember how far are we supposed to go? At minimum? Minimum, we're supposed to have a fifth.
No
more than a
no
tenth?
longer than a tenth.
Good. And we go a fourth between C and F. Boring.
You mean an A and a D?
Yep. Treble clef.
We've all been there.
There are 3 types of people in this world: those that can count and those that cannot. So we only have the span of a fourth. All right. Let's look at more errors. Keep them coming. Here, they improperly resolve the leading tone. Are we going to get one of those find the error things at the end?
Yes, it's like analyzing critique.
Do we get it? I don't see it. Remember those find the error, the part writing ones that we used to do? Those were good times. All right, so here we are in B flat major. And we totally frustrate the leading tone. We leap both times. It should go back. Anyway, that's boring too. Incorrect use of the melodic minor. It should be raising both of those pitches. Hear the difference? They're natural minor there, right? We need to raise 6, raise 7 when we are ascending to be a melodic minor. Error number I, letter I. Problematic leaps. We have a leap that's a 7th and a leap bigger than an octave. No bueno. Error 10. Isolated large leap not preceded and followed by motion in opposite direction. So everything's going one way till the end. What is this descend to F thing?
It's supposed to go from above.
Say that again.
That E, it's going approaching the F from below. You're supposed to go to the F from above. Descend to it.
Right. So that we zigzag. Right? Same thing here. Descend to F. Descend after C so that we zigzag. That's our problem there. All right, error type 11. 3 consecutive leaps in the same direction. So we have a third, a fourth, and a third. What's the other? Well, we're okay here because we ended up spanning an octave though, right? But we're not supposed to have 3 in a row the same direction. And number 12. You could just hear that it's not good, right? We have 2 consecutive leaps that do not span a fifth or an octave. The first one spans a fifth. There we only have a third. Question in the chat was, so if you wanted to outline a seventh, it wouldn't be good. Are you talking letter K or letter L? Yes, we want to avoid sevenths completely. With me? Right? That was one of our rules. CEGB would. I think we're talking about 2 different things. Friend in the chat. Let me go back real quick to our list of 12. If an isolated large leap occurs in the line, fourth, fifth, sixth, or octave proceed and followed by motion in the opposite direction. But back here, when we talked about somewhere, we talked about avoiding sevenths, didn't we? Melodic intervals. Avoid augmented or diminished intervals. Sevenths or leaps larger than an octave. So we are trying to avoid sevenths altogether. I think. Yep. Other questions? Self-test 11-2. Analyze and critique each contrapuntal voice in terms of the guidelines for melodies discussed in Feature of the Melodic Line. To avoid cluttering up the score, label the errors using the numbered list given in the section. For example, for an improperly resolved leading tone, place the label number 7 above the location of the error. If the errors are general and apply to the entire example, place the number to the left of the score. If the error occurs over a range of notes, show this with an additional bracket or circle.
You have to memorize those numbers too.
Yeah, isn't that fun? This is going to be a great time. So here we are, number 1, B flat major. It doesn't tell us how many errors there are, so this is fun, a little hide and seek. Let's find that list. Keep that handy. Well, I will tell you. How about that? There are 2 errors in this example. It appears that we have 1 focal point, both above and below. Do you notice anything?
Should the leap of a fourth in the first and second measure, should there be opposite direction from the C?
Okay, we're in trouble, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Sorry.
say that again.
D
Say
to the
this.
G. Should there be the A go down? Should there be an opposite direction?
Yeah, so there's 2 errors right here. We've got number 11 right here. I think this is what you're saying, Pete. Number 11 says that consecutive leaps in the same direction, number, and resolution. Use no more than 2 consecutive leaps in the same direction. When using 2 consecutive leaps, you should proceed and follow the entire pair of leaps by motion in the opposite direction. I don't see that, though. That's what they're saying, though. Do you understand what they're saying? Because I only see 2 leaps, and then I see stepwise motion.
The A after the G is going in the same direction. It should be going back down, right?
Okay. So we've had 2 leaps, and then we should change direction, and we don't. And that's what number 11 is saying. Is that what you're saying, Ethan?
Yeah, I think so. I think I know what I'm saying. Sometimes I don't, but you know.
No, I think you're right. So the important part is you should proceed and follow the entire pair of leaps by motion in the opposite direction. It doesn't necessarily have to be a leap, but it should change direction, and it does not. Good. That is error number 1. Is that what you were saying, Pete? Excellent. Error number 2. Does anybody see it? Ethan's got it. Who else has it? Trevor's got it. Trevor, what is it? I know there was 12 things, and this is kind of a really hard scavenger hunt with a really long list of things to look at, isn't it? Let's just go down the list. Contours, the contour all right? I think the contour is all right, except for that leap problem. Variety, it's fine. Pitch repetition, we don't have. Directionality, we go both up and down, so we're good. We have the focal point. Do we stay within our range of a fifth and a tenth? I think we're okay. Leading tone resolution. So we're in the key of B flat major. So let's look for scale degree 7, which is an A. We have an A here, and it resolves nicely as it should to scale degree 1. But we have an A there that does not go like it should to scale degree 1. And that's our other error. We're in major, so none of this melodic minor stuff applies. We don't have any of those diminished intervals. We treated leaps correctly, except for there. And that concludes our list of stuff. Are we all right with that? On we go. G major. Oh, find the errors. I can already see one.
Too many of the B's in a row.
Repeated pitches and across the bar line. That is a no.
Which number is it?
It's number 3. Pitch repetition. Number 3. What else do you notice kind of right off the bat?
Boring contour.
Boring contour. So we're going to call that number 2. Number 2, pitch repetition. It says use no more than 2 consecutive occurrences of the same pitch. Well, we get 3 right in a row. And variety. Number 2 is variety. Variety is preferred over redundancy. Avoid using the same pitches again and again and again. We get 3 B flats there. We get another B flat there. And another B flat there. We have 5 B flats in a row. So variety. What else? There's one more error. Looks like we take care of the leading tone. Or do we? We never get the leading tone. Why do we never get the leading tone?
You don't go down to 1 at all. It's kind of bizarre.
It's ending on a 5.
So check out this range. We have between middle line B, we go up to a D, and we go down to an A.
Right. That's the other error.
So we have a span of a fourth. So we're going to get written up for number 6. Range. We are less than a fifth. We have a span of a fourth here, which is no bueno. Okay, so this, Zach also said no lower focal point, which is absolutely right. We could write that too, number 5. But we do get one upper focal point, so I think that's why they didn't write that. But you're right, Zach. So this is remarkably similar, this self-test 11-2 to page 89 in your workbook. 89 in your workbook gives you 2 melodic lines that we're supposed to analyze and critique and label with the numbers, just like we did. Are we cool with that? So we've gone over 2.5 pages of your 4 pages. of your workbook assignment. Moving on. Beginnings and endings. Beginnings. If the first chord is a tonic harmony, begin the contrapuntal voice on any note of the tonic triad, scale degree 1, 3, or 5. If the first chord is a dominant harmony on beat 3, begin the contrapuntal voice on any note of the 5 chord except the leading tone. What is the leading tone in the 5 chord?
Be the 3, right?
Yeah, the third of the chord. Good. Does everybody understand what we just said? So if we're in C major, our tonic triad would be scale degree 1, 3, 5. Our dominant triad would be 5, 7, 2. So they're saying do not start on a dominant chord on the third of that chord, of that triad, which would be scale degree 7. All right, number 2, cadences. End each phrase with one of the following 3 cadence types: a pack, a root position iac, or a half cadence. Avoid using scale degree 5 above a final tonic in major or minor in an iac. If you are writing a period, give the second phrase a stronger cadence than the first. For example, a half cadence to a perfect cadence, a half cadence to an imperfect authentic cadence, or an imperfect authentic cadence to a perfect authentic cadence. Use smooth voice leading when writing cadences. Remember that all of these cadences should be placed so that the final chord is located on beat 1. Kind of common sense stuff, right? Don't get cute. We don't need any heroes. Just do the job, right? Are we okay with that? Next, harmonic intervals. These guidelines refer to the intervals between the 2 voices that occur as the counterpoint proceeds. Each species has its own conventions related to harmonic intervals. The following list refers only to one-to-one counterpoint, just species 1. Chord tones. Every note of the contrapuntal voice, like those in the bass line, should correspond to the given chord label. That is, they should be chord tones. So no tones that don't belong to the chords. Consonances. Because only root position and first inversion triads will appear in these phrases, only consonant intervals, unisons, thirds, fifths, sixths, and octaves will be used as harmonic intervals. Avoid all dissonant, that's our word of the day, harmonic intervals, including seconds, fourths, sevenths, and all augmented and diminished intervals. Remember that the perfect fourth is a dissonance in 2 voice counterpoint and should be avoided.
So in other words, stay within the pentatonic scale.
I'm thinking about that. When you say pentatonic scale, you're talking like a 5-finger pattern?
Yeah, like 1, 3, 5, 6, 1.
Say that again.
If you're starting on C, it would be C, E, G, A, C.
But that's different than that, isn't it?
Actually, and also the D is in there too, I think.
What are we calling that? What does Classroom Maestro call that? Yeah, you're right.
Because all those notes are consonant with one another and there's no harsh dissonance.
Whoa.
Except for the second.
C major pentatonic. Okay. That's going to be a tricky one to remember, that the perfect fourth is a dissonance and should be avoided. Does everybody understand what a harmonic interval is? The interval between the two notes from one note to the next in the melody. Okay, unisons. Avoid unisons except if needed at the beginning or at the end of the counterpoint. Number 4, imperfect versus perfect consonances. Imperfect consonances, thirds and sixths, have a more pleasing sound in the tonal style and should predominate over perfect consonances, which are unisons, fifths, and octaves, especially in the middle of the phrase. Avoid using more than one or two perfect consonances in the middle of the phrase. That begs the question, what is the middle of the phrase? Number 5, melodic minor and harmonic progression. In minor keys, use melodic minor, and you may change the triad qualities of the chords as needed to accommodate this. For example, given the progression 1 to 4 to 5 to 1, using scale degrees 5, raise 6, raise 7, 8 in the upper voice will require the progression to be changed to minor 1, major 4, major 5, minor 1. So basically that's saying to accommodate the 9 pitches of the melodic minor scale, you will have to probably accommodate changing the triad qualities. Going between minor 4, major 4, minor 4, major 4. And or minor 5, major 5. Awkward doublings. Avoid doubling the bass pitch in the upper voice whenever a 1/6, 4/6, or 5/6, or their equivalents in minor, are used. In the case of the major 5/6 chord, this pitch is the leading tone, which should never be doubled. The other doublings are awkward and should also be avoided. So avoid doubling the bass note in the soprano when you're in an inverted first inversion chord. Cool with that? 6 more things to worry about. All right, types of motion. It is important to consider the relationship between the contrapuntal voice and the bass line in order to maintain the relative independence of two parts. In general, follow the basic guidelines for the treatment of outer voices given in Chapter 5. I'm not going to click on it. Avoid parallel and contrary perfect consonances. Avoid direct fifths and octaves. Employ a variety of motion types. Contrary motion, parallel motion of imperfect consonances, similar motion, and oblique motion, and give preference to contrary motion. Contrary to popular belief, contrary motion is okay. All right. Here are some additional guidelines for moving from one harmonic interval to the next in 1-to-1 counterpoint. Static motion. If one voice repeats a pitch, the other should move. Oblique motion. In other words, static motion should not be used in 1-to-1 counterpoint. So you can't have both voices repeating the same pitch, hanging out on the same note. Number 2, parallel imperfect consonances. Parallel imperfect consonances, thirds and sixths, are fine, but avoid using more than 3/3 or 3/6 in a row. So we can have them, but don't have more than 3 of them in a row. Direct fifths and octaves. If there is similar motion between voices into a perfect fifth or a perfect octave, recall that the upper voice must move by step. A special case is that in which both voices move upward into a perfect octave. Here, the top voice must move by a half step to be acceptable. Various possibilities are evaluated in example 11-9. All right, what's wrong with the first one? It says poor. We went up a fourth in our top voice. And we went up a fifth in the bottom voice. What's wrong with this?
The upper voice should move by step.
Yeah, so this is a direct fifth, right? We have a leap in the bass, a leap in the soprano to the interval of a fifth. But here we moved to the same notes, but from a different note where we didn't have a leap in the soprano, and we're fine. All right, next. We have a stepwise motion in the bass, but we have a leap in the soprano to a direct fifth. Here, we have a leap in the bass, but we move by stepwise motion in the soprano to a fifth, and we're okay. Same problem here. However, why is that one poor? Ooh.
Right. The soprano is not a half step.
Okay. So the top voice must move by a half step to be acceptable, and we move by a whole step. Here we only move by a half step, and we're okay. All right. Two more. We'll call it a day. Both leap into a direct octave versus why is this one okay? Because we're moving down, not up into a perfect octave. All right, that was a lot, but I think that we have a pretty good grasp. I feel like you guys know what you need to do for your first 2.5 pages of your workbook. True? So I would start on that. We'll pick up here on Wednesday. Questions, comments, concerns? I'll see y'all tomorrow. Your training?
Yeah. Thanks, Doc B.
All right.
Thanks, Doc.
You are welcome. Max, are you awake?